Hello, everybody. Welcome to soniclab presentation special. I'm here with Joel from Synchro Arts. How you doing, Joel? Over there, it looks sunny where you are. No snow, right?
No snow down here. I'm in the West Country, so we had very limited snow.
Well, we're here to talk about the new VocAlign, Synchro Arts VocAlign Ultra, which is, for those of you who maybe don't know about the VocAlign technology, it allows for the alignment of multiple takes of vocals in a musical context, which is really powerful. And when you consider the amount of work that tends to go into modern pop vocal productions, as well as other kinds of music are available, it can take an enormous amount of time just to get the kind of the double tracking, the backing vocal stacks, all of that kind of set up. So with VocAlign Ultra, you've kind of taken that to another level, right?
Yeah. So one of the sort of biggest challenges that people have in modern vocal production is where you do have large stacks of vocals, kind of doubles, harmonies, backing vocals, getting them to fit together in timing and in pitch. And historically, people would do that manually, sort of manual cuts and little time stretches and moving things around. Which if you multiply that over a whole song with lots of a whole stack of vocals, it becomes a huge task that takes hours, and even then, getting it right and getting it to sound perfect can be really challenging. So our software enables you to do that automatically, and save potentially a huge amount of time.
I mean, what's been happening recently, because, I mean, vocal production, I mean, certainly this, I mean, it sounds like a long time. In the last 20 years, the American production teams have really upped the game on, on pop, certainly pop vocals. I mean, when the use of kind of technology to create these kind of very effective and very, very precise and immaculate sounding vocals, which, back in the day, the British kind of rock and rollers were just like, yeah, throw it down, it'll work. And now it has to be, the listener has come to expect this level of perfection in that kind of music. So also a couple of weeks ago, I know this has been out for a couple of weeks, but Synchro Arts also got an Academy Award for their VocAlign technology, which, as we know, in the film industry has been used enormously. So in VocAlign Ultra, you've actually introduced some of that top end stuff into this sort of new version of the plugin, right?
Yeah. So typically, in the past, a lot of in post production, people have been using Revoice Pro, which is our kind of flagship software, which has our most advanced algorithms and a lot of our most advanced editing tools. And what we've done in VocAlign Ultra is bring some of that capability that only existed in Revoice Pro previously, and put it into VocAlign Ultra to give VocAlign users, the same higher quality results and ease of use that they can get at the moment with Revoice Pro.
Okay, so maybe we can take a look and see what it does, because obviously I think the illustration is going to be the proof is in the pudding, right? So let's take a look. So you've got a Studio One session here, right?
I do, yeah. I've got a Studio One session here, and as you can see, there's kind of an arrangement of vocals here. And in Studio One, we integrate via ARA technology, which means that the audio is instantly transferred in and out of our plugin, VocAlign Ultra. So it saves the need to capture the vocals in real time, kind of hit record and record them in, that goes away with ARA. So in Studio One, it's really as simple as just highlighting the vocals that you want to work with. So here I have a lead vocal, so that I'll be using that as my guide. And here I have two backing vocals, which will be my dub. So the vocals that I want to conform to the lead vocal.
Right.
And all I have to do in Studio One is just edit with VocAlign, and the VocAlign interface loads into the dock here. So if I make sort of size changes in Studio One, it will resize VocAlign Ultra. I can kind of also shift it up and down, which is really handy. And to get the audio in, I just need to click the section of the lead that I want to work with, press capture, and you can see it's loaded in here. And then I just also select these two backing vocals here, and I capture those. And once you see the yellow audio file appear here, then the alignment has completed. And what VocAlign has done is created a new output file which is based on the original dub, but matching the characteristics of the guide.
So that's effectively essentially the tracks you want to perform, leaving the lead vocal untouched, but making those backing vocals kind of tighten into the phrasing and the pitching and all the other stuff with that, right?
That's right. So now the way ARA works is these audio files here have now been updated, so they now have the new versions, the new in-time versions. If I just delete these, but we just do a quick kind of before. Listen to what we have here.
Think you're the big guy, thinking you're too fly, but as soon as things get serious, you're acting so delirious. Thinking you're something, but I'm telling you something. Every time you break a heart, it puts you right back to the start.
Yeah, so you can hear there's some timing, there's a few sort of pitch discrepancies there as well, but certainly timing issues where, especially the sort of consonant sibilance isn't matching up, which really stands out. So again, really easy. I just capture the guide, capture the two dubs. Simple as that. These have now been updated, and we can listen to the after.
Think you're the big guy, thinking you're too fly, but as soon as things get serious, you're acting so delirious. Thinking you're something, but I'm telling you something. Every time you break a heart, it puts you right back to the start. Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay. That's I mean, that's pretty impressive, and it's still got, it's not robotic, is it? It's got human elements to it. You can hear a little bit of give and take as well, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the big new things in VocAlign Ultra is that now we have a match timing feature. We have a sort of variable tightness control here. So here I'm allowing some of the original dub signals timing to sort of come through into the output signal. So I'm allowing some of the original feel of the dub, but largely it's being conformed to the guide. And I have the ability to really whack that up, and I can increase the tightness, and then the output will take on more of the characteristics of the guide signal. And I can do that for the two. I've got two signals in here. So here I just control click, and I can select the audio that I'm working with. So I can either work on backing vocal 1 or backing vocal 2, or I can do the same thing here. I can click on the two segments in Studio One, and I can process them separately. So this backing vocal 2 here, I could have a slightly different timing setting than I do for the first one. So you see here as I move between these two files, you can see the controls changing. So I can. I have the ability to kind of craft the overall sound however I want it. I may want some of the doubles to be tighter, some of them to be looser, and I can do that now in VocAlign Ultra, and that wasn't possible in any previous version of VocAlign.
I mean, just this may seem like a kind of so what moment if people haven't spent hours and hours and hours fixing a vocalist who basically maybe only had a short amount of time to come in and do a take, or if it's been remotely, you weren't able to kind of go, can we do that again? You just got the stems. I mean, the amount of time it takes to retime this kind of thing, because you're dealing with pitch as well as time, it can't be overstated. I mean, and we know many assistant engineers around the world, or many people who are just into production and want to get that sound that they hear on the radio. This is a massive time saver, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's giving you the ability to get things into time, but in a way that you want to as well. So it's not as simple as in the past you could it was either 100% tightness or that was
because if you're doing, and also if you're doing it manually as well, you kind of the detail that you approached at the intro vocal, and by the time you got to the chorus out, when you had enough and you were just sick of it, the level of tightness might be a bit different just due to user fatigue.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's when you're aligning, sort of every word, you're trying to get the sort of transient of the word potentially, and then you've got sort of sibilance and things like that. You're trying to line it all up so that everything just locks in. To try and do that manually on, say a stack of 10 vocals.
Yeah, I mean, because
this is only the track.
This is only 2 that we're doing here, but I mean, as we know, it's a unison. So I mean, with if you're doing masses of harmonies, then you're going to create a lot of work, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the great thing about ARA technology with with VocAlign Ultra as well is that you can transfer, as many vocals as
Yeah,
you're
is there a
working
limit?
within.
I mean, what's the limit? I mean, we've got like one guide and 2 dubs. What's the actual limit in terms of how many you can have?
I think that the sort of limitation comes in where I think it's more a usability limitation rather than a sort of a software limitation in terms of, if you're working with, kind of a massive stack of dozens and dozens and dozen vocals, then it, it can become quite unwieldy to
Right.
kind of get all of that, manage that session, if you like. But
Yeah.
certainly, 10, 15 vocals are not an issue
Wow.
to align
Okay.
that kind of number at once. And you can go beyond that, but a lot of them will depend on how long the vocals are. I mean, we always sort of recommend that people work in sort of relatively small sections in order to, kind of maintain maximum visibility on what's happening, any specific part. But there's no, this is this section here is, what's that, 8 bars. You can, as long as a lot will also depends on how close the vocals are to begin with. If they're pretty close already, then
I mean,
then
is
you
there?
can.
Yeah, is there? I mean, how long does it? Because I mean, this was a short section. How long does it take to align? If you were just saying, right, there's you're going to go really ridiculous and go the entire vocal take times 2, run that. I mean, how long is there a processing time for it to sort of kick in? Because it has to presumably analyze it and then create some kind of information about the file. And
Yeah, it does. But even on, say, kind of a 3-minute. I mean, it kind of see what computer you're using, and there's kind of other factors that play into it.
yeah,
But
sure.
It's if you're aligning a 3-minute lead to a 3-minute double to a 3-minute lead, then that it's still only sort of, I mean, tens of seconds, probably less than that.
Right.
It still does it pretty quickly.
So there, you were saying that there are some of these other features that are coming in from the sort of top end Revoice Pro into Ultra. What else are we talking about here?
Okay, so there's quite a few new things, if that are new in VocAlign Ultra that haven't been in previous VocAlign versions. So one thing here is we've got presets. So we've got over 60 presets that we've kind of developed and designed based on largely on how people have told us they're using the software and what kind of scenarios that they find themselves in. So, I mean, here I've got vocal double, slightly loose timing and pitch. I've got vocal presets here. I've got presets for rap music. I've got instruments and dialogue as well for the sort of post-production guys. So I've got all of these presets in here. So even if you're not sure what settings may be best for the scenario that you're in, you can go through the presets and the chances are there's something in there which will describe what you're trying to achieve. And you can also save your own presets, as in most systems, and share those with other people. Another big difference here is the display. People that have seen VocAlign before are probably used to seeing something similar to this, which is the previous kind of energy-based display, and that creates it's a logarithmic display based on the energy of the file. And the issue that we found with that was that people found it difficult sometimes to relate that to the WAV file, to kind of relate the events, the audio events that were happening to what the energy display looked like. So you still have the energy display there, but we've got this new kind of waveform display, right, just because it's what people are used to seeing. And you've got the guide, the dub, and then you've got the aligned output. But we've also got here is the blue outline is the guide, so you can kind of zoom in and see how close the output is to the guide. So it gives you a sense of how tight the alignment is and whether the alignment is working. And when I kind of tighten up here, you can see it automatically creates a new output file and it's snapping the file in. Whereas if I loosen it off, you can see that the output is moving away from the guide and it's becoming more like the dub file. So you can see that the yellow is looking more like the orange and less like the blue.
How far can you go? I mean, can you really go robot if you want to? I mean, or do you try and limit that sort of capability?
You can go. So this max difference control over here, it's a maximum difference of 0 milliseconds. So it's not giving you. It's forcing the algorithm to match as closely as it possibly can, and it when you've got that setting, things can sound maybe slightly artificial, but I think in a lot of modern forms, music, that's kind of desirable.
Acceptable, yeah.
I mean, if you hear a lot of pop music,
it'll do that
yeah.
if you need it to, right?
Yeah, if you want it to sound like really, really tight, and like you say, maybe robotic, because there's no way anybody would sing, a vocal stack that tightly, then you can do that with VocAlign, definitely.
And I did notice that there was a preset for instrument in there. So, I mean, obviously we're talking about this for vocals. It's called VocAlign. Will it deal with instruments as well? And what kind of applications could you have for that?
Yeah, so what we found, a lot of people using Revoice Pro for kind of brass sections, and also kind of layering guitars, but kind of monophonic guitar sections rather than kind of chords or strumming or anything. When we get into kind of polyphonic signals, then the alignment becomes less accurate, and it kind of
it's not designed.
It doesn't work as well. Yeah, so say brass works really well, or kind of kind of acoustic guitar, but kind of played sort of plucked rather than strummed, and those kind of things can work really well. And we've kind of we have presets for that, and we have done some testing with that. So
are there any more examples that we should hear? I mean, because obviously that one was fairly gentle, fairly within the realms of what you might hope. I mean, what other stuff can you harmonize with it? Can you do things that kind of are outside of what was originally recorded?
Yeah, so one feature that's new in VocAlign Ultra is a Formant shift. So what I can do here is one of the dubs I've got. So you can see we've got two dubs in here. So one of them I can put a Formant shift on, and Formant is kind of essentially kind of the size of the voice box. It's kind of, you can make a vocalist sound like they're kind of a really big kind of person singing or a really small person singing without actually changing the pitch. So if I turn the Formant right down, then I can, maybe if we just go to if we just solo the backing vocals together, that might work better. And you can, if I just turn this down a little
Think
bit more.
you're the big guy, thinking you're too fly, but as soon as things get serious, you're acting so delirious. Thinking you're something, but I'm telling you something.
So you can kind of hear that it's kind of almost sounds like two singers now. That you've got two kind of backing vocalists, if you like, rather than just two voices singing the same thing. So that's a really useful creative feature for when you're trying to introduce kind of a different sound or a different timbre to what you have.
Well, I can also see that there's a transpose thing there, which is, and that presumably that's a stretch kind of transpose. It doesn't make it faster, it would change. So you can actually turn it to a harmony as well, right?
Yeah, you can use, so with the transpose feature, it's more for kind of creating more of a chorusy effect, because you could use it to create an octave harmony potentially, although pitch shifting a kind of a vocal up an entire octave or down an octave, may sound a little strange. But I have seen some people do that and have been happy with the results.
Right,
but you can, but if you shifted a vocal, say down 3 semitones, then there would, depending on the notes of the vocal, it may be some of those notes maybe then transposed out of key with the original piece.
Okay.
So it's kind of more just for a little, kind of a notch here or there, just to give it a bit more thickness, and also
natural
for
chorusing.
dialogue guys, it's exactly. It's more for that than for creating harmonies.
Is there a kind of deeper tweaker mode in this?
Yeah, so we've got the advanced mode open here. I mean, a lot of people just use VocAlign Ultra in the basic mode, which gives you the kind of the bare minimum sort of controls that make the maximum amount of difference. But I can, if I go into the advanced mode here, I've got a lot more control over how VocAlign is behaving, and I can do things like, with the match pitch feature, for example, which maybe we could just have a quick look at now, which again is a completely new thing in VocAlign. It's something that we've had in Revoice Pro for a while, but we've introduced it to VocAlign in VocAlign Ultra. And if I switch to the new pitch display, which is where we can actually see the pitch traces of the signals. So here I've got I can see the guide signal here in blue. make this a little bit bigger so you can see it clearly. I've got the guide signal in blue. I've got the output in yellow, so I can see what is VocAlign outputting. So I can see here there's some differences that are occurring, and because I'm allowing in the match pitch feature here, I'm allowing some sort of looseness. But as I tighten it up,
oh right, yeah, that looks razor sharp.
Yeah, you can see that it's now aligning the pitch very tightly. And if I turn off the match pitch, you can see suddenly, the two signals look quite different as I turn it on.
That's the one that you show to the vocalist when you want to completely destroy their ego and when they thought they'd done a good job, right?
Yeah, what you're able to do here with match pitch in mode 2, which is interesting, is you're able to so we have two algorithms for matching the pitch, and they both work in slightly different ways. But mode 2 is interesting because it gives you the ability to match the broad pitch shape of the vocal separately to the details. So, for example, in the double, you may have some vibrato that you want to keep the character of that vibrato, but you want the average pitch of the two vocals to match. So you don't want to lose that character, but you want to bring that in. So I can do that here too. So I can back off the details matching, and you can see that there's more deviations are happening between the two, but the sort of broad tuning of the two signals is VocAlign is tuning and keeping them together, but it's you're allowing to keep some more of the detail of the dub in, and that can be really useful for. So
I mean, it seems like they're very musical controls. I mean, it's designed to have a musical application here. What this means is humanly it translates to what you might want to hear.
Yeah, I think that's really what VocAlign Ultra does that maybe previous versions of VocAlign didn't, in that it gives you some creative possibilities, and then it also allows you to retain the feel and some of the natural aspects of the vocals that you're conforming, so that it's not just the case that you're aligning one vocal to another. You're making decisions about how you want that alignment to work and what you want it to sound like. And with these new visual displays, you can actually see what's happening, and it puts you in control over the whole process in a way that just didn't exist before.
So as with all of this kind of technology, in the same way that Auto-Tune, when it first came out, it wasn't designed necessarily to create T-Pain, but that was the output, the result. Are there ways in which this can be used in a more totally creative way rather than a kind of a fixing and less obvious way?
Well, I think that the sort of the concept with VocAlign at the moment is that you have a vocal which is the guide, and you have a vocal which is the dub, which is designed to be conformed. So you're kind of you need to work within that kind of paradigm that you need to have two vocals to start with. I mean, what some people have done is use the guide also as the dub. So you kind of end up with two guides, if you like. So if you only have one signal, and then but then the second, the guide that's in the dub slot, you could then transpose it, form and shift it, and end up with something different. But what you so there is a few things you can do there around kind of coming up with something that wasn't there before. In Revoice Pro, which is kind of our flagship product, you can create doubles, and you can there's kind of more ability to do those kind of things. But with VocAlign Ultra, it's the core of the software is that you have a guide and you have a dub.
So I'm guessing this is kind of aimed more at musicians and therefore musicians type budget. I mean, what kind of pricing does this come out at? Is there a demo?
Yeah, there's a 14-day trial for VocAlign Ultra, and the normal retail price is $399, and which is the same price that VocAlign Pro was. So
we've been looking at this in Studio One, which has the ARA connection. How does it work with other DAWs?
Yeah, so there's a few other ARA DAWs which basically work in the same way that I've just shown you. So there is that kind of instant connectivity and that super sort of very fast workflow, and that's Logic Pro, Cubase Pro, Reaper, Cakewalk by BandLab. All of those DAWs support ARA and work in the same way that you've just seen. Pro Tools, we work via Audio Suite, so you do get instant transferring of the files, although you have to render you render the file back in manually, but it's still really quick, very, very easy. And then with other DAWs that don't support ARA, you just record the vocals it captures the guide and the dub in real time, and that's sort of how it works with Ableton, Bitwig, things like that. So there's kind of a few different modes, but it's it works with all major DAWs. Yeah, one other great and big time saver in VocAlign Ultra is that one of the things that we've taken from VVoice Pro is the ability to deal with where there are gaps in the dub that don't exist in the lead vocal. So here you can see that I've got a lead vocal here, and in the backing vocals on the doubles here, I've got big gaps that don't exist in the lead. So what I can do here is if I edit with VocAlign for these sections of audio here, and if I capture the guide as I did before, and then what I'm going to do is to switch to a different preset, and I'm going to switch to vocal harmony dub with gaps, and then I'm going to capture these second two here with the gaps in them. And what you can see here is that VocAlign has compensated for the fact that there are gaps here, which is basically done by limiting the amount that it's allowing VocAlign to shift the files. And if I tighten this up a bit more, and we have a listen, it's aligning the timing, but just of these two words of the phrase.
You weren't ready, but you went ahead with me anyway. You are steady, taking less of common mistakes, baby. Oh,
I haven't got to sort of chop up anything. I can still deal with a scenario where, quite often in pop, where I'm just emphasizing specific words of a phrase, or it happens a lot in rap as well. I don't need to chop anything up. I can just put the vocals in their entirety into VocAlign Ultra, use that preset, and it's all done for me.
Yeah, I mean, because otherwise it's like snip, snip. I mean, because that's the stuff that just gets you after a while. I mean, this is when you're working in production, when I was doing a lot of DAW work, a lot of editing, just key commands and just making everything as fast as possible for tightening things up. I mean, because it can be such a tedious process, and this is obviously helping a great deal with that.
Yeah, having to snip things up. I mean, that's what we're trying to cut down on with VocAlign Ultra, is the need to kind of create smaller snippets and kind of align those individually. Hopefully what people will find with VocAlign Ultra is that's no longer the case in a lot of situations. You can use the controls and the functionality within VocAlign Ultra to get results on whatever you throw at it.
Right, excellent. So I guess available now from all good. Well, you sell it direct online. Is that the
yeah,
deal?
It's available from synchroarts.com, but also from a variety of different plugin resellers, wherever you like to get your plugins. It's more than likely they'll have VocAlign Ultra available. And if you do have previous versions of VocAlign, so if you have VocAlign Project or VocAlign Pro, then there is an upgrade path as well. So you get VocAlign Ultra for a fairly hefty discount.
Okay, Joel, thank you very much for showing us that. I guess people just, like I say, can get hold of a demo and try out and see if it kind of saves them a lot of time. Are there limitations on the demo, or does it just run?
No, none at all. It just runs fully featured for 14 days.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you have a lovely weekend and carry on in this splendid isolation. We've proved that we can still communicate over this time, but nice to see you, Joel.
Thanks, Nick. Really appreciate it.
Think you're the big guy, thinking you're too fly, but as soon as things get serious, you're acting so delirious. Thinking you're something, but I'm telling you something. Every time you break a heart, it puts you right back to the start. Yeah. You weren't ready, but you went ahead with me anyway. You are steady, taking less of common mistakes, baby. Oh, big boy, you really went.